Autumn in Seattle means colorful leaves, wet roads, and people sliding out of control because they're still driving at summer speed. Perhaps it's the glimmer of streetlights reflected in the water that reminds drivers of the summer sun. Or maybe people are just a little bit too dumb to drive for conditions. Whatever the reason, if you don't slow down, you might find yourself heading home with your bumper in your trunk. Or worse. Watch these headlights up here and see if you can guess which driver is about to crash. If you guessed the car speeding along twice as fast as all the other cars on the road, congratulations, you win. This was a car full of teenagers, and they got extremely lucky. Their vehicle flipped over and came to rest against a pole. If they'd hit the pole first, or slid into it roof first, this could have easily been a multiple fatality crash. But luckily for this young driver and passengers, there were no serious injuries. Even when the roads are dry, excessive speed can lead to horrific results, as we've seen numerous times on this channel, and as we're about to see again. This high-speed crash in North Seattle injured multiple people, including a child. Here's an alternate angle. See the pigeons? That's called foreshadowing. The speeding driver who ran the red light was reportedly suffering from a mental health crisis. She was sent for an evaluation and will likely get no help at all thanks to our overburdened, underfunded mental health care system. Now, if you ask me, anyone who runs a red light should get put away for a while, but most of them get a slap on the wrist, if that. If there were actual consequences for running a red light and causing a crash, then maybe we wouldn't see it happen. Day after day after day. And also at night. Here in Seattle, we see shockingly bad driving by people both off the clock and on the clock. Now here's a driver from National Barricade taking their job a little too seriously. When they said block the whole road, they didn't mean like that. Now this view from another camera shows just how this driver is. Not only did they run a red turn arrow, but they turned left from the far right bus lane. Hopefully their next job involves polishing traffic cones and not operating a death machine weighing several thousand pounds. And now a quick word from our sponsor. Unhappy with your mobile carrier? Try T-Mobile. With stores all over, you can just drive on in. Sweet Mother of God. Now this video, our intersection of shame is East Marginal Way and South Michigan Street, where we have 4 different red light crashes. October 27th, a driver coming off of the bridge runs a red light and causes a crash. November 12th, different driver, same situation. The very next day, a driver turning right rolled their red and bad touched a truck. And finally, on November 27th, another right-turning driver turned right wrong and hit another truck. Back to another trouble spot, First and East Marginal Way, but this time instead of somebody speeding off the bridge, we have a truck driver rear-ending another truck. The first of many rear-end crashes we'll be looking at tonight. On the University Bridge, a driver still in summer mode forgot how slick the drawbridge grading gets when wet. That's going to leave a mark. Same spot, different day, another dummy not driving for conditions. Now this one's hard to see, but I'm including it because it took place literally just minutes after the last crash we saw on the University Bridge. Another rear-end crash on the drawbridge grading, making this a very bad day to try to cross the Ship Canal. Here's another trouble spot we've seen before. There's a second stoplight at the top of the screen that's easy for a driver to miss if they aren't paying close attention. Because that's what this comes down to. We can blame the rain or the infrastructure, but the proximate cause of most of these crashes is drivers just not paying attention to the road in front of them. The driver of this van coming towards us is following pretty closely in addition to not paying attention, so they can't react fast enough when the vehicle in front of them stops at a yellow light. Now watch this car heading away from us. The driver changes lanes to the right, swerves back to the left, and then smashes into stopped traffic. Under the influence or just on the phone? Look, we all judge meth heads, but these dopamine fiends can't go 5 minutes without looking at their phones, which leads to moronic moves like driving into the back of stopped traffic. Similar situation here, where a driver seems to think that paying attention is optional just because traffic is moving slowly. Well, you looked at your phone, and now your car is all jacked up, and you hit one of those expensive SUVs that looks like a friendly robot. For shame. Top of the screen, someone with a speed higher than their IQ crashes into traffic that's already stopped at a red light. Bottom of the screen, a driver just rolls forward and then bumps a car in front of them. There are better ways to get somebody's phone number. This is not a meet cute. Here's someone pushing a shopping cart across the road. The first driver coming towards them stops, but the driver behind them apparently has a paper bag over their head because they slam right into the stopped car. Luckily for the hobo, that dopey driver wasn't the first one in line. And one last rear-end crash, we have a driver practically careening down the hill on Denny. They cause a 3-car crash. Now, driving on Seattle's hills can be tricky, especially when you need to stop on one. Some folks put one foot on the brake and one on the gas, while others just throw it into reverse and rely on the SUV behind them to keep from rolling down the hill. Swear to God, license from a Cracker Jack box. Our inexplicable driving continues with this driver who tries to make a right turn in front of a moving bus. Awesome. Luckily for them, it was just a glancing blow. Now right turns are hard, but left turns are even harder. Watch the driver at the top of your screen as they just turn left in front of oncoming traffic. This crash in West Seattle is partly off screen, but appears to be the same situation. And then, of course, we have the cut-through crash. Here's one from the U District, as a driver trying to turn left through stopped traffic collides with another driver traveling quite a bit faster than the vehicles around them. And on Rainier Avenue, right under the word Rainier, a last-minute left turner meets a bus lane bandit with predictably poor results. Always some shenanigans on Rainier. Center of your screen, a dumbass demolishes stopped traffic and then immediately flees the scene. Here's an alternate angle. Based on the condition of that car, I'm guessing they did not make it too far. On Highway 99, the driver of a silver car makes a wild last-minute dash for the exit and broadsides a bus lane bandit before fleeing the scene themselves. Same spot, a driver seems to be having some car trouble and they end up coming to a stop in the left lane. Not the place you want to be broken down. Really, you should do everything in your power to get to the shoulder if you can't pull off the freeway entirely. We also see the folks from that car standing in the traffic lane, which is a great way to get turned into highway stains. Now, I will give Seattle drivers some credit here, as it took nearly 14 minutes for another driver to finally crash into the rear of that stopped car, thankfully missing the people in the roadway. Shortly after this, SDOT became aware of the problem and gave us a nice tour of the skyline before zooming in on the scene. About 5 minutes after that, Seattle police arrived and they were finally able to get this scene under control and cleared. Okay, just a few more crashes before we call it a night. Further north on Aurora, we've got another bus lane bandit. They collide with the driver trying to change lanes and get shunted into a third vehicle. On the West Seattle Bridge, watch the vehicles traveling away from us. You'll see the one that I'm going to be talking about. Yep. That vehicle is being driven by a 17-year-old fleeing another crash he just caused on the bridge. Shortly after disappearing from view, he tried to take the Delridge exit, but failed spectacularly. Now, he was charged with hit and run, reckless driving, failure to provide insurance, and having a mismatched license and car registration. He was taken to the precinct and then released to a family member. Now, if he'd put multiple lives at risk using something other than a car, it would be a very different story, but because he was just driving, he's free to go on his way. It's both deeply infuriating and unlikely to change anytime soon. Okay, deep breath. Let's just watch this guy try to pull out of a parking spot. Turn signal on, check. Wheels turn, check. Let's give it a little more gas. Just a little more gas. Wait, what? Too much, and balls. That is it for tonight. As always, a huge thank you to my channel members. Now, as a guy, it can be hard for me to talk about my emotions. Luckily, I found an ambulance that illustrates how I feel about my channel members. Aww. A special shout out to my Super STC supporters. Mark Siddell, Bluto is watching, Maria Brown, Digiday, Maury, I Am Me, Robert Lindsay, Jonathan Reitveld, and George Masters. Thank you all so much. If you'd like to join our weird little traffic cam fam, you can join the channel from my profile page or from the watch page on any video. If you'd like to support the channel with a one-time donation, you can buy me a coffee. And as always, if you're not able to support the channel financially, that is totally okay. I so appreciate your views and comments. I always read all of them, even if I'm not able to respond. It's a privilege to share Seattle with you, and hopefully encourage you to drive a little bit more safely. Until next time, slow down, phone down, eyes up, and thank you for watching.